Thank you, Rashmiji. This is going to be one of the best show we ever had on this TV channel. So before we start the program, as our Hindu and Indian tradition, we'll play a 1 minute prayer to just bring in the good vibes for everybody. Thank you.
हेलो वेलकम टू द शो स्वामी जी नमस्ते कैसे हैं आप
Namaste, I'm fine, thank you. अच्छे हैं.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. It is my pleasure and honor to welcome Sri Subramanian Swamiji from India, who is joining us from India today. Swamiji does not need any introduction, as the sun does not need any introduction. Swamiji is well known to all Indian community in India, in America. He is real statesman, he is an economist, he is a politician, he is a member of parliament currently at Rajya Sabha. But one of the most important introduction about him, he is the most well recognized and respected driving force about Hinduism. With that, let's all welcome Swamiji. Swamiji, please come, join us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I am very honored and pleased that all you very busy people have found time to hear me on this topic and have an exchange of opinions. Let me, with your permission, make a short introductory remark for the topic that you had sent me in advance, Rajivji, and I think that it covers a very wide spectrum, so let me narrow its scope in terms of presentation. The topic you gave is guiding Indian Americans to protect Hinduism in USA and then also to help India. Yes, there is a issue which has to be addressed. The children born to Hindus in America, of course it's applicable to other nationalities too, but we are now concerned with our problem. The children, they go through school and college in the United States. They get a very fine education. They come top of the class and all that. But the process, the American educational process being what it is, it's an homogenizing, process where you end up essentially becoming like any other American. The accent, the language, the aspirations, the outlook, the patriotism, all that, leaves very little room and time for busy parents to see that the children grow up also in keeping with their Hindu traditions. So this concern is there and has been asked of me, how do we rectify it? But I think now, compared to, say, 20, 30 years ago, there's a lot of good news for Hindus today in the United States of America. And that is because the fact is that many, many prominent people have chosen to become Hindus. Some have written to say that we may not become Hindus, but Hindu ideas are more scientifically acceptable to us and rationally acceptable to us. In that, I would quote an article which appeared 11 years ago in Newsweek, written by the editor of Newsweek, called Lisa Miller. And this is what she said, that the recent poll data show that conceptually, at least, we are slowly becoming more and more Hindus and less like the traditional Christians in the ways we think about God, ourselves, each other, and the eternity. I mean, it's an extraordinary statement coming in a magazine which is mainstream America, which is Newsweek, in 2019, August 25th, and it's available on the internet. So I think that factor is now showing up in other ways For example, yoga. Certainly, Sanskrit words have now entered into the English language in America, like pandit and karma and so on. So I think one I can see in terms of when I look back over I mean, I came in 1962 and then in and out of America, teaching in summer school, sometimes the whole semesters, etc. I have seen that America appears to be more and more ripe for Hindu philosophy, if not Hindu religion, but there's very little difference between Hindu religion and Hindu philosophy. So I think for all of you who are listening, there may be kind of transitional issues, but I would say that Hinduism is safe in America, and you don't have to worry about its protection because it's so scientific that as people become more and more rational, the people will find it much easier to accept it. We have never said the earth is flat. We have always said from beginning the earth is round. We have we don't have a prophet who decides everything. We have multiple gods and multi-dimensional. And our religious scriptures are pure logic. If you see Ramayana and Mahabharata, there's so much argumentation that goes on, where you get to learn the morality and cultural, I think. For example, when Ram hid behind a tree and then killed Bali, and Bali raised a pertinent question before dying. He said, you supposed to be Maryada Purushottam, hiding behind a tree and killing me, when you could have come in front of me, we could have had a battle, and if I got killed by you, I would have considered it an honor. But you did what was immoral. And then Rama explains what morality is. And the same thing in Mahabharata also. When Karna's chariot gets stuck in mud, and at that time, Krishna tells Arjuna to kill him. And because there was no other way to kill Karna, he was too good an archer and a fighter. And Krishna never thought that Arjuna can defeat him in battle. But when he told him that Arjuna protested, and there Krishna then explains why it is moral for him to kill him now without giving him a chance. So I think, you see, the beauty of Hinduism is now beginning to dawn. And then there is now the fact that the people are learning to become happy. People, they may become prosperous in America, but they're not happy. That's what I found in Sri Ravi Shankar's ashram, when a large number of Americans come for his annual function, and I interacted with one of them when I went to address that function. And I asked them, with all your money you made, why have you come? They said, the only way we know how to find happiness is that way. Recently, I saw a statement of a person who's already a Hindu, and she's now in American politics from Hawaii. You all know who she is. Her name is Tulsi Gabbard. And she says, in this chaotic time, we Americans find strength and peace in Bhagavad Gita. And I would say that for you all, it's no use teaching the entire gamut of Hinduism to your children. It's if you just concentrate on the clinical logic of Hinduism as explained by Krishna in 18 chapters. Wonderful. And it tells you the formula for how to be happy. And I have applied that in my life, and that is why I was able to achieve what I could by applying my mind, this latest being the Ram temple, which everybody said could not be done, and certainly not by the court, but through the courts we got it done. And it was my petition which got the matter listed, and heard on a day-to-day basis. And all this because I followed the principle of Gita, which is that you have an objective and you work for that objective, but you are not attached to the attainment of that objective. If you succeed, you give the credit to God. If you fail, you blame God. That is essentially, put it crudely in my language, is what Bhagavad Gita says. Sukha dukhe samay kritva. That is, all these extremes of good, bad, anger, happiness, all these things, he says you should have a balanced view. Lord Krishna says, in life you have only freedom of action, but the fruit of that action is dependent on a multiple objectives which you have no control, but I have control over it. So leave it to me, and I will decide whether you should get the fruit today or you should get another fruit in some other occasion. But do not despair by defeat, because your freedom was only to do your best. So this, in a nutshell, is what makes people free from tension. Tension comes when you say, am I going to succeed? Am I doing the right thing? Am I being double-crossed? All these worries you have. And if you follow the Gita, you can never have tension. And that's why Tulsi Gabbard is saying this, and I support it. So all of you have done very well. You're a model for all of us. Everybody, I know all the young people, when they see how well you have done, they think they also should go to America. But you should now start a new dimension to your life by being able to teach your children the principles of Hinduism, starting with the Bhagavad Gita as the foundation. And now, if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer it. I can tell you, Hinduism could not be defeated after 600 years of battling with Islam. In Persia, in 15 years, they won, the Islamic forces won Persia and converted everybody to 100% Hindu, into 100% Muslim. Same thing with Mesopotamia, Babylon, Egypt. Whereas in India, they could not convert many people. And even today, after everything, Hindus are 82%. So that viability and that stamina and that determination we have demonstrated in history. And now we have to overcome all the things, that baggage we have inherited, and become a modern Hindu who is not easily depressed, who doesn't have any emotional problem of winning or losing, but in the end, because of his determination and his karma, he ends up winning. This is the message I'd like to give. Now, any questions you have, I'd be happy to take.
I have
Yes.
Okay.
Hello.
This is a question from Dr. Minu Gupta from New York. She says, as you just mentioned, how do we Hindus in USA can continue our cultural heritage, our moral and ethical behavior as per Hinduism, at the same time do not look like it's an orthodoxical behavior? So how do we give a modern outlook to the Hinduism, essentially? That's the question she has.
No, you don't have to be orthodox. You don't have to keep a chutia and, go bare-bodied and, have all that ashes on your forehead and all that. That is voluntary. That is not compulsory. We don't think that is infra-dig. We certainly don't want to do it. That's fine. Therefore, first principle is Hindu is a thought. Hindu is a ideology. Hindu is a philosophy. It's so many things rolled into one, but it is not an attribute in the sense you have to dress in a certain way, you have to have a beard, or you have to eat in a particular way, you have to be a vegetarian. None of these there's no compulsion. Even on vegetarian, non-vegetarian, it is only said if you want your mind to be stable, then meat destabilizes your mind. Destabilize means you don't become mad, but you get more raw emotions when you eat meat. That is precise what. But if you are not bothered about that, you are not interested in having a steady mind, then you can be a non-vegetarian. So there is the thing about is you what you have to look at is the basic philosophy. That's why I say you start with Bhagavad Gita, and you need a teacher for it, because in the beginning you can't just go from page 1 to the 18th first chapter to the 18th chapter. You have to be told this is a shloka in this chapter, and then you have to learn that and bring it. That will automatically do it. I would say that if you want your children to come in the Hindu way, if you want to just know one thing that you should do, I would say persuade your children to learn Sanskrit. And I tell you, that has a magic. And if you want to know this magic, please go to Google and type there St. James School, London. In St. James School, London, the principal requires all the students from the age of 6 to 11 in the morning to recite Sanskrit shlokas for a half an hour. And this is an all-white school, an elite school, and the children are all British, of British origin, British citizenship, and of course Anglo-Saxon. And yet the principal says, I have found by my studies that if you recite these slokas between the age of 6 and 11, then you will have a superior intelligence. Intelligence will be developed much more, and that is why I am doing that. And it's going on every day. And now in Germany also they have taken to it. The Hindus teach you not one dimension of intelligence like the Americans. Americans teach you only what is called as cognitive intelligence. You can do physics, mathematics, and so on. But Hindus teach emotional intelligence, moral intelligence, spiritual intelligence. Spiritual intelligence means that we believe that all knowledge is in the cosmos, and if you get up at 4 a.m. and recite some mantras, your neural Wi-Fi, as it's called, connects with the cosmos, and it then downloads all the knowledge, and you will be a genius. So, I mean, these are things which are available to you in Hinduism, and you can dress in the Western way. You can have your other cultural habits of the local American situation, but these things plus the Bhagavad Gita on how to stabilize your mind, which, by the way, now according to Business World, which is an American business magazine, says they are teaching their corporates, executives between the ages of 35 to 55, because that's the age where they are finding a large number of heart attacks, that this philosophy that your freedom is only to act and your authority is only over your action. But the fruit of that, you can work for the fruit, but that fruit is mine, as Krishna says, that is God's. And if you get it, well, God feels that in these circumstances you should get it. Otherwise, you may get it somewhere else, somewhere in another effort. This kind of thing is what you need.
Okay. There is a question from Mr. Samir Kulkarni from Washington, D.C. What he's asking is, see, we used to have a tremendous knowledge and all the university, Takshashila University and big institutions in the past. But in current modern India, we don't have those institutions which can lead the way. So how do we bridge that gap? And now current literature, scientific research, everything is coming from West. So India has to now take a lead in that aspect.
Well, I fully agree, but history is transition. It's not that today you decide, okay, and now all the past menu is no more acceptable. Now I got a new menu. You go ahead. Today, for example, in our government, we have been committed to the defalsification of our history. Because most of our history is by the Britishers all bunkum. Aryan Dravidian theory is nonsense. There's no such thing as Aryans coming from Europe and the Dravidians being driven to the south. And they are, according to DNA studies, our DNA is the same. Whether you are a North Indian Hindu or a South Indian Hindu, or whether you're a Muslim or a Christian, Buddhist, Jain, whatever, all have the same DNA. And this has come in the Journal of Genetics of the University of Cambridge, University of Houston, in Mysore University, and this DNA studies is even available to you on the Google. So we wanted to have, and then we wanted the history to reflect not Babur and then Humayun, then Akbar, etc., but we wanted to describe the battles that were fought. And when I go around the country, I find how people don't even know that in the end, the final battle that took place between Aurangzeb and the Marathas in 1795, and the Mughals, in between Aurangzeb died, between the Mughals and Bajirao II of the Peshwa were leading the Maratha army, we won that battle. But 20 years later, the British arrived, and we were a very tired people, and our weapon development had not taken place, and that advantage the British got, and we defeated them also. The first decolonization took place with India. All the others who got decolonized and became free from imperialism, they all did it after India showed the way. So these history we wanted to teach, but unfortunately, if I bring together 5 people and say, okay, you prepare a text for the schools and colleges, these 5 don't agree. So I've been urging our government, give it to one man, and that one man is Rajiv Malhotra, and he can consult anybody and produce a text and teach our children. So I would say that we are in a transitional phase, and during these past 70 years, all kinds of ideologically warped people have been fitted in, and the net result is we don't have developed intellectuals who can meet them on the intellectual sophistication of our debate. And so in the end, what happens is that we are not ready yet for even preparing a textbook. So it will take time, but it's irreversible. India, today we may not be able to teach Sanskrit in India, but artificial intelligence now, according to research done by the NASA and many others, saying that, well, it is Sanskrit which ultimately will become the base for collection of knowledge in a computer. And so Sanskrit is the language of the future. It's no more an ancient language. It's a language of the future. And I think each of us can contribute by making our younger generation learn Sanskrit. And it's very easy to learn Sanskrit. In fact, the RSS has a body called a body especially for this, Sanskrit Bharati or something like that, which will make you start talking Sanskrit in 10 days. And there are villages in India where they speak only Sanskrit, which nobody knows about it. The best known is, of course, one in Karnataka. So I think don't despair because we haven't done it. It's coming, and it is unstoppable. It may take another 30-40 years, but India will be liberated, and we will have a renaissance.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have a very interesting question for you. You have done so much work in last almost 50 or more, even 60 years. And what is the single most project which you think that was the most dear to you and has the most impacted the Indians? I know it's a little bit personal. We want to hear from you for your personal.
I'll give 1, 2, 3. I'll give you 3.
Okay, sir.
Because they are different in different dimensions. The first and foremost project which I took, which everybody said you will never succeed, was to get the Chinese to agree to open Kailash Mansarovar. And that was, nobody encouraged me. They said they're wasting time. We may even end up spoiling our relations with China and all that. And I not only got them, but the Chinese insisted. That time Indira Gandhi had come to power back again. They insisted that I should be the first person to lead the delegation, and I did. And of course, I've been there afterwards also. So this I consider is a great personal achievement. Second thing is I fought the emergency. And when everybody sort of either had to go underground and wait for things to change. But I came to America, escaped to America, and America I got tremendous support from you people. And I went campaigning in 23 states and converted the American mind that we are not a third world country, and that people are still fighting for restoration of democracy. And in the end, when I went back, of course, I also did some drama by walking into Parliament and making a speech and disappearing again. But India had elections and we defeated Mrs. Gandhi. She personally lost the election. And the people who voted the maximum for democracy were surprisingly the most illiterate part of India. All North Indian states voted for Janata Party. And all educated southern states, the 4 southern states, voted for Indira Gandhi. So people who say that, in India, people are not educated, how will they understand democracy? It is in our blood, and this westernization is the one that was responsible for people to say that India, is still a third world country, doesn't deserve democracy. Democracy came back because of the poor people of India, and that was. And the third thing is what Ashok Singhal tearfully told me, that he won't live to see Ram Mandir being made, and he's handing it over to me. As a total newcomer to the project, I entered in, I got my petition admitted for day-to-day hearing, and for the first time introduced that this is not my property or the Muslim property, but it is my fundamental right, where faith tells me where Ram was born. And the court accepted that proposition. And today, from yesterday, the Ram Mandir construction has started. And we hope Kashi Vishwanath and the Krishna Janmabhoomi mandirs will also be liberated, and mandirs will be built once again in those places too. These are the 3 things I think very highly of. I, of course, also played a major role in bringing economic reforms in 1990, when the Soviet model was thrown away, and we brought it in, and it was Chandrasekhar's government and later on Narasimha Rao's government, where I held minister's rank position in both. And I played a major role in articulating a market economy, and now that has become part of India's thing. So these are some of the achievements. They are in different dimensions, so I won't say one is more dear to me than the other.
Those are all 3 are amazing achievements, and it has impacted, I guess, every Indian on the globe, because this is very dear to every one of us. Thank you for that. So now, as we discuss about helping Hinduism in America,
yes,
Dr. Rudra Dubey from New Jersey has a question.
Yes.
As we watch from here, certain states, there is a lot of concern going on, like West Bengal and Kerala. So how do you protect the Hinduism there, and what are the issues going on, and what are the remedies, and what can we do there?
Well, you see, the major revolution of 2014. I don't think the coming to power of Vajpayee's government was a revolution because it was a coalition government, but the BJP got an absolute majority. Was for the first time there was a vote of the Hindu rising above his region, language, caste, all these differences, not 100%, but 40%. And that 40% gave us a majority. And again in 2019, the same factor, but a new factor came in also. Because we gave triple talaq abolition, we brought in triple talaq's abolition, Muslim women broke ranks and voted for us in a big way. And that's why our numbers also increased. We got 303 seats. And of course, plus our allies together, we were, I think, 330. And that's a huge number in a house of 540. So what I would say is that the consolidation of Hindus rising above all these divisions as the primary identity of his mind, that process must now be continued. Then I think we will become one. There is no difference in DNA between a scheduled caste and a Brahmin. And Krishna Bhagavan in chapter 3, chapter 8, so many chapters, he says over and over again that Varna, that is Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, they are gunas. They are your inclined abilities, and is not connected with birth. So if we can make Hindus say, I am a Jnani and Tyagi, therefore I am a Brahmin. But there's no difference between me and anybody else. And scheduled castes also, the children of scheduled castes are not supposed to be scheduled castes. Valmiki was a child of the scheduled caste family, but he became Maharishi, wrote the Ramayana. I mean, there's some dispute whether he was or not, but I believe from whatever I've seen that he was, his family was made to break away from society. And he also started, in fact, as a dacoit. And then by reciting Ram's name, he became a Maharishi. So if every Hindu begins not to speak about his caste, and also in marriage terms, doesn't make that a factor, and says, I am Hindu, full stop. A Brahmin, yes, I am a professor, so I am a Brahmin. I am a military man, so I am a Kshatriya. I am running a business, so I am Vaishya. I am doing agriculture, so I am a Sudra. This thing, if we can unite as Hindus, that would be the greatest contribution. And that's what has brought BJP to power in 2019. It will bring BJP again to power in 2024, I'm telling you. At least till 2029, I cannot see BJP being defeated, even if we don't perform on the economy and we don't perform on so many other things. Unless some leader of ours is caught for corruption or betraying the country or something, that might shock the people. But non-performance on the economic front, would not be a factor it will be swept over by the Hindu consolidation that is taking place, and it is taking place in a very dramatic way.
How about the West Bengal and Kerala? What
I think you see in India, this is the beauty of all this squawking, screaming, shouting, noise. These are all part of our democratic setup. Nobody is going to secede. Only thing that I feel that we have to be very careful, and that more Kerala than Bengal. Bengal, this lady is a Pakka Hindu, devout Hindu. She has a small temple in her house, which is for Durga. And but she's doing this drama because she thinks that the Muslims, if they desert her, they will only go to one place, that is CPM, and CPM will come. The difference between her and CPM has been. Now, of course, fortunately, the BJP is growing in a big way, and if the BJP grows a little more, then she will cease to be this kind of extremist in furthering Muslims. But I can tell you one thing. One day I went and told her that she has allotted the Hooghly area to a minister as the father minister or whatever, the minister in charge. She had given each district to one minister. And I said, there the most ancient temple, Shiva temple, is there. And you can't have the minister that you're given in charge because he's a Muslim. So therefore, you please, remove him and put somebody else. So she had called a meeting, and I asked her for a meeting on this. She called a meeting, and then all the officers, everything. So she said to me, "Don't say Muslim minister." So I said, "What shall I say?" She said, "Say minister." So I said, "I have no problem, minister." She said, "Yes, I agree. Ministers should not be in charge of temples." And she removed him. Now, I feel that she's not such a big threat as Kerala. Kerala is communist, and communists have gone out everywhere except there. And they are pandering to all these extremist Islamic forces and so on. But in the end, I remember when I was minister, this LTT was a menace, and we dismissed the DMK government and finished off the LTT. When I proposed in the cabinet that we should dismiss the DMK government and finish off the LTT, almost all the officers said the rivers of blood will flow and DMK will declare an independent Tamil Nadu. Nothing of the kind happened. And then we held elections, and out of 234 assembly seats, DMK got only 2. They got wiped out. So I think our cohesion is very strong, and BJP is gradually gaining strength in Bengal. We are still not being able to get traction in Tamil Nadu and Kerala. But otherwise, all over the country, we are there, and I don't think you have to worry about any state being able to topple India from its path of democratic progress.
So one of the major concern, this one comes from Rakesh Thaplo, who is a Kashmiri Pandit, who is living in US. So about the US, the Western media, especially the New York Times, Washington Post, and also in the universities,
yes,
there is a lot of bias kind of against India and Hinduism both. So do you suggest we need to create some strategy and what it should be and how it can be implemented?
See, I've connected with Harvard for 50 years. One day, every year, they used to ask me to come and teach 2 courses. And the only time I could come was summer, because nobody was campaigning and nobody could do any political work in India in hot summer. And so I said I can come in the summer. And so I used to come to the summer school for 10 years continuously. I came. And one day, these very so-called crazy people in the religion school and so on, they, behind my back, without even giving me an opportunity to make my presentation, and despite the strong protest of the Department of Economics, they moved a resolution in the catalog committee to terminate my teaching. Now I could have gone to court and I've got a few $1 million and all that, but I thought it's a gone case. What has happened is 2008 onwards, many of these Ivy League universities have supplemented their research funds from Arab nations. So what you have to see is that the United States penetration through oil money has been a major silent factor in conditioning people to say hate speech, hate speech, hate speech. And you can say anything against Hindus, it won't be a hate speech. You can distort their books, it won't be hate speech. But on Islam, there is a very strong lobby because of the thing. Now, I think there needs to be a strategy, and I think Indians are rich enough to start their own universities, like the rich Americans have, white Americans have done. And we, as far as university is concerned, can deal with that. As far as the American, Congress has a committee which is not a part of Congress, but it's anyway of congressmen. It's what, the International Religious Freedom or something like that. Yes. We are not concerned, because this time, just now, recently, they wanted to come to India and we didn't give them visas. So basically, my view is that you must have young Indians coming up, being articulate. They must be able, because it's very easy to distort, Indian, the Hindu mythology, or what they call as mythology, but the Hindu cultural milieu, and the presentation of many of the things that we hold sacred. And we need to be able to articulate debates. You can't just dismiss them, you should take them on. Nobody wants me to come and argue, because I've been trained in America, so I can argue them out. So nobody wants to debate with me here. Or they'll have mobs come and disrupt the thing. But I think we need to develop people, our young people. But for that, you have to have some way of teaching them what their criticism is. The textbook people have done very good job. But again, they have to fight every day, because if they take one day rest, then there's a reverse. So America, there are people who feel threatened by the increasing acceptance of Hinduism of the world, and there are forces which are spending money to see that we are targeted and cornered.
I think Indian government probably can work with the local Indian people.
Yes, Indian government can, sir. I agree with you. But Indian government is still not mature enough to know this problem. We have just come to power after almost 60, 70 years of Congress. Yes. So give us a little more time to mature. People don't, they don't understand the importance of this. And that's why I admire Rajiv Malhotra. I think somewhere you should bring him. He maybe is not an easy person, because he can't stand. He may have very strict standards, but the fact is that he understands the Western mind completely, and he knows exactly how to argue. And that's why they are all targeting him all the time, seeing that he doesn't come to address universities and so on. So people like that, and then make them, nurture people. I have done that in India in the Virat Hindustan Sangam. Now nobody can debate with us, and we are going on all issues. People are there. They know how to use the computer. They know how to get the data assimilated and argue. Nobody wants to fight with us on ideological issues anymore. So that is what you need in America, because nobody has time, and those who go to universities, they know that if they want to advance their career, they have to mouth all this. So if you say today the Aryan Dravidian theory is bogus, we are all one people, even if you produce the DNA studies, they This guy is dangerous. He is one of these Hindu fanatics. So we have to deal with this by training people to articulate, argue, and be able to know what they have been propagating and how to rebut it also.
Yeah. One of the criticism which we hear is the history books of India and Indian education system.
Yeah.
Where our older than before the Mughals came, how rich our history was, and all those Ashoka and then all the other different kings which were there. They were never being taught, and that's why some of the younger minds get misled by the pseudo-secularism and all these kind of things. So isn't Indian education system has to be changed, and whatever Mr. Zakir Hussain created first history books need to be updated so that there is a balanced approach?
I understand and agree with you. But change with what? I change and say, okay, now those old professors, they're all communists, get rid of them. Then who do I bring? I have to train that new crop. And see, look at the United States. Harvard University is not financed by the government. It's all alumni. Alumni has made Columbia, made Harvard, made Pennsylvania. All these Ivy League colleges are all alumni. In India, people all the time complain about reservations. But I'm saying if you have a 100% financed university, nobody can ask you to have a reservation for your students. It will be entirely on merit. But nobody is ready.
Right.
So that consciousness, if we say, well, the government should do it, the government doesn't know who to put in its place. The moment we bring Rajiv Gandhi, and 4 secretaries will say, sir, he is not the person who can adjust with anybody. He thinks only my way or the highway, that sort of thing. They are prejudiced. And the minister doesn't know. So this is the real difficulty, I think, and I think it's a structural difficulty, and it's only a matter of time, and you will see that today things are much different than 20 years ago, and I can tell you 20 years from now, all this conversation that we are having today will not take place. Because we will have moved forward.
Thank you for that optimism and your faith in our Indian people. That is wonderful. This is question from your very close follower, Rajalakshmi.
Oh, hey.
Yeah. So Rajalakshmi,
I thought she's in India. How did she end up there? Oh, actually, the one in I know.
The New Jersey.
Yeah, I know, the Nepali.
Yes. So, उनका कहना है कि this is the domicile law in Kashmir. There is opposition and concern from both sides actually. Means why we ought to wait 15 years to become citizen there. That's what other side is saying. And so what do you are...
No, that will change.
Okay.
Jammu Kashmir will be identical to every other state in India.
That's what we expected. Yeah.
And the question is, shall we do it all in one blow, or shall we do it slowly? You see this CAA, what a distortion that has taken place. What is CAA? That after the partition, the Hindus were persecuted, the Sikhs were persecuted, the Christians were persecuted, the Buddhists were persecuted. So Mahatma Gandhi, 1 month before his assassination, in a public meeting said that this partition was based on the assumption that those who didn't want to come across, whether from India to Pakistan or Pakistan to India, they will be respected as minorities. But it is not happening. Mahatma Gandhi himself said they should be allowed to come to India and given citizenship. But he passed away after 1 month. He was assassinated. Now, over the years, Congress government kept keeping registers of all these people, putting them in camps, those who came, because they came because of religious persecution, and didn't make them citizens. And since they didn't make them citizens, they had to live in tents. because nobody gives them a job. There's no Aadhaar card. Then they won't open a bank account. So we took a decision that whoever is on the register, we will give them citizenship. There is a way to get citizenship under Section 6 of the Citizenship Act, but there's a procedure which takes quite some number of years. We wanted that these people have waited enough, and everybody has been going on giving platitudes that these should be given, and so it did it. There was not one Muslim name in that list, because no Muslim is going to come from Afghanistan, Pakistan and Bangladesh for religious persecution, because it is their own religion which is ruling there. Only Hindus, Christians, Buddhists, Jains, Sikhs, Parsis, only they can come on religious persecution. They were all there in the list. And so we gave them. What a big hangama was created. Oh, Muslims are being kept out.
Right.
Okay, am I going to go to Pakistan, capture some Muslim and say, hey, listen, say that you are being religiously persecuted and bring him here? If no Muslim wants to come on, if he comes on other reasons, we are ready to give. We wanted to give to Tariq Fateh, but he said, I'll go to Canada. Then we wanted to give it to Taslima, and she said, no, I'll go to Sweden. But that Adnan Sami wanted citizenship. He said, I don't want to go to Pakistan. I want to live in here. I will not get freedom to speak there. And so we gave him citizenship. Nobody talks about that. So this looks like targeted. Same thing. The Pakistani TV in the name in camouflage come and take interviews of mine, and then they distort what I say. For example, they said to me, there's equality of right for those who got citizenship, whether they're Hindu or Muslim. I said, listen, this was only for the category of those who came under persecution. I can't bring somebody else who wanted a better job, so he wanted to come to India on the same category. For example, if I as a Brahmin say that I have equality before the law because scheduled castes are getting, scheduled caste Hindus are getting reservation in jobs, so therefore on equality, I should also get reservation. Nobody says that. Supreme Court has said a number of times equality before the law under Article 14 Constitution is only for equal categories. And they have made such a big hangama all over the world. Imran Khan attacking me for saying that Hindus and Muslims are not equal, says Swamy. One Under Secretary General of the UN, I am now suing him. I'm going to take him to court. And one Pakistani writing in Indian Express and the BBC, they're all doing propaganda that Swamy says that Hindus and Muslims are not equal. Yes, they are not equal as far as coming from Pakistan is concerned, because the Hindus who come from Pakistan come due to persecution. These people come because they want a better job. They cannot be compared. But that twisting is going on, and so you have to be very careful.
Ji. So few minutes left. Any words of guidance or wisdom for Indian Americans who are listening to you, sir?
My view is that the Indian Americans should do three things explicitly. One is, if you want to remain and be known as Indian, then make a resolution. This is my opinion. You needn't have to agree. You may even think poorly of me for saying this, but anyway, I'm going to say it. Every Sunday when you are at home, don't wear Western clothes. Wear kurta pajama or sari or salwar kameez. Okay? Only on Sunday. This, in my opinion, has an osmosis effect. I have, from 1966, I have not worn Western clothes anywhere. At Harvard teaching also. No. I'm not making compulsory. I am giving you a suggestion. There is no such thing as compulsion. And certainly at places of work in the United States, it will be cruel to ask you to go in Indian clothes, because you're living in America, he's not living in India. But I'm saying in terms of keeping your identity going. Number two, please, what I said earlier, persuade your children to learn Sanskrit, because it's going to be the language of the future, and Sanskrit unites India. Every language in India has Sanskrit words. Tamil has 40%, Kannada has 60%, Malayalam has 80%, Bengali has 85%, Hindi is gradually becoming Sanskritized. Now Shuddh Hindi has almost 90%. So this unites the people, and it'll become easy for you to learn other languages. So these three things, I would say, do it. Your identity will get established, and then of course, whatever you give in philanthropy, please see if you can create scholarships for the study of the true history of India. You can do it, send it to India, or you can do it in America. There are people, lots of very bright people who can do it. And maybe you can have select people in America who settle down, who are of the same thinking as we are, and promote them to be able to do research and hire people, and help young people to graduate. For instance, I'm not a lawyer, but I have 20 lawyers who have studied under me. Who have come. I've learned law, so I can argue myself. I've never lost a case. So I take these young people, and they're all famous cases. I'm sending Sonia Gandhi to jail or something like that. So that has become a famous case. Temples. So Ram Mandir. So all these youngsters then become well known, and then they were able to stand on their own feet. So that same way, you get 5 or 6 people in summer. You can have a camp, and this way they will also develop an identity. Developing an identity is an extremely important thing, because the second generation is very cruel on them to demand that they have Indian identity, because they are brought up from school to destroy that identity and have an American identity. You can have a dual identity, and the America is one of the places where they would tolerate that also. So therefore, Indian identity should be developed, and we are not afraid that we are the longest serving culture, and that's a Hindu culture. And in fact, Muslims you can practice Islam, but your cultural habits should be the Hindustani cultural habits. And the Parsis, for example, you can't distinguish them in terms of cultural, in their clothing and in the way they interact with the rest of India. Same thing with the Jains, Buddhists, Sikhs. We have no problem. So it's only these proselytizing religions which we have problem with, and there we will now have a problem if they recognize what is true, because according to DNA studies, all our DNA is the same, whether you're Muslim, Christian, Hindu. So we are one people. We have descended from one people. This kind of propagation requires a new force, which will go campaigning, addressing meetings, and so on, and that you can promote.
Thank you, Swamiji.
But Virat, we have a lot of questions on COVID-19. People want to know what is the situation there as we talking.
Okay. Let's have more questions.
Well, first I would like to say about what is called this coronavirus, a new virus, which they call as COVID-19. Maybe it will be a COVID-20 also. But the fact is that although in the United States you have a very high rate of mortality compared to India, in India we have a very low rate of mortality, although the number of cases is galloping, but our mortality rate, we have I think 51 or 52% of people who are detected as positive, they end up recovering, and the death rate is 2%, 3.5% or something like that. So I think if one um, adheres to the discipline that is properly propagated, you will not lose your life. And in this virus, the only thing is it doesn't. It's not like paralysis or smallpox or something like that. It's something that you can recover fully. And therefore, the whole thinking should be, what discipline should I follow by which my chances of getting it is minimal. And of course, if it does get minimal, don't be paranoid, don't be hysterical. You have a very high chance of recovering after 15, 20 days.
And
Thank
yeah,
you.
I should
So,
say, Dr. Swamy, it was very informative session what you have talked today, like about language. Sanskrit was very nice, and of course that we should believe in our karmas. That is really very nice, and it's very educative session too, I'll say, and very informative. Very nice it was.
yes, definitely. As we all know, Dr. Subramanian Swamy is a legend, and one of the most brilliant and intellectual source from India on Hinduism, on legal matters, on politics, on economics. And we are very honored that you gave us some time to be here today. There are so many questions still pending. We hope give us some other time, another hour in
Yeah,
future, because
anytime.
as you know, people in America, they love you. You and Modi Sahab, our Prime Minister, both of you are people
Yeah,
follow with every word and sentence and suggestions you give.
yeah.
So with that, thank you so much, Swamiji, for coming in on our show and giving this Nyan Ganga. Actually, I have to let people know that Swamiji has a wonderful YouTube channel as well as Facebook and Twitter channel. It's called Nyan Ganga. And that is really, as it is said, it's a Nyan Ganga. It's a source of so much wisdom and information and knowledge in that. Please follow that, watch it. And with that, we appreciate Swamiji for you coming in. Please
One
go ahead.
word.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow I'm having an interaction with Subhash Kak, professor from, I think, Oklahoma or that part, Arizona.
Yeah.
He is a tremendous scholar on how Vedas actually generated science and all the things that it's very interesting that we are the only country which has never said the earth is flat. We are the only country which talked about the aeroplane being able to fly because of the way that you generate the wind movements. So I think a person's like that. You see, I mentioned Rajiv Malhotra, but I would like to mention Subhash Kak also. And please get him to come and sometimes address and tell your youngsters how in Vedas we had already come very far, but for the invasion, would have been all the time through, even today, as number one.
And I would like to thank Dr. Raj also for being great host today on behalf of My Dream TV USA. And thank you, Dr. Swamy, again. It was honor for us to have you on My Dream TV platform. Thank you so much.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure. Look forward to seeing you in America.
Yes, sir.
Sure, please do visit us. We are waiting eagerly to meet you personally. Thank you so much.
Thank
Stay
thank you.
safe. Thank you.
Bye.